Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Impassioned calls for police reform at Tyre Nichols' funeral. No classified documents found in FBI search of Biden's beach house, lawyer says. Dances with Wolves actor arrested in Nevada sex abuse case. Winter storm causes third day of dangerous icy conditions. Eleven shot in Florida drive-by, police say. Alec Baldwin is formally charged with involuntary manslaughter in the Rust shooting. Nikki Haley expected to formally announce presidential bid on February 15, sources say. Boeing bids farewell to an icon, delivers last 747 jumbo jet. Michelle Obama launching podcast based on Light We Carry. Missy Willie and George Michael among Rock Hall nominees. Dr. Phil talk show to end daytime TV run after 21 years. Erdogan says Sweden can't join NATO if Quran burning is allowed. Myanmar extends state of emergency, delaying expected polls. $500,000 strike in UK's largest walkout in 12 years. US accuses Russia of endangering nuclear arms control treaty. Pope consoles Congolese victims, your pain is my pain. Tom Brady retires again, but this time for good, so he says. Blue Jays sign reliever Chad Green to $8.5 million two-year deal. And Women's World Cup hosts urge FIFA not to sign Saudi sponsor. Now news in detail. Tyre Nichols' family and friends gathered Wednesday for a funeral that blended a celebration of his life with outrage over the brutal beating he endured at the hands of Memphis police and heated calls for police reform. The Reverend Al Sharpton and Vice President Kamala Harris both delivered impassioned speeches calling on Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, a broad package of police reforms that includes a national registry for police officers disciplined for misconduct, a ban on no-knock warrants, and other measures. Harris said the beating of Nichols, a 29-year-old black man, by 5 black police officers was a violent act that went against the stated mission of police to ensure public safety. Sharpton said the officers who beat Nichols might have acted differently if there was real accountability for their actions. He also said he believes that if Nichols had been white, you wouldn't have beat him like that. Nichols' mother, Rovon Wells fought back tears as she spoke of her son. She also urged Congress to pass the law named after George Floyd. Members of his family and others who have been killed by police attended the funeral, including Breonna Taylor, Botham Jean, and Eric Garner. No classified documents were found during the FBI search of President Joe Biden's beach house in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware on Wednesday, an attorney for the president said in a statement. The DOJ's planned search of the president's Rehoboth residence, conducted in coordination and cooperation with the president's attorneys, has concluded. Biden's personal lawyer, Bob Boyer, said, adding that the search was conducted from 8:30 a.m. to noon. Consistent with the process in Wilmington, the DOJ took for further review some materials and handwritten notes that appeared to relate to his time as vice president, Boyer said. The FBI search of Biden's Rehoboth Beach house came amid ongoing classified documents investigations. A source familiar with the matter said no warrant was involved and the search was consensual. Earlier Wednesday, Boyer said in a statement that the Department of Justice was conducting the search with Biden's full support and cooperation. Documents with classified markings were found earlier in Biden's Wilmington residence and a Washington think tank office. But Boyer and the White House said earlier this month that no classified documents were found at the president's beach house. The National Archives, which is responsible for retaining presidential records, declined to comment on the search of the president's Rehoboth home. Las Vegas police on Tuesday arrested and raided the home of a former Dances with Wolves actor accused of sexually assaulting young indigenous girls during a period spanning 2 decades, according to police records obtained by the Associated Press. Nathan Lee Chasing His Horse, who goes by Nathan Chasing Horse, was taken into custody in the afternoon near a North Las Vegas residence. SWAT officers were seen outside the 2-story home in the evening as detectives searched the property. Known for his role as the young Sioux tribe member Smiles a Lot in the Oscar-winning Kevin Costner film, Chasing Horse gained a reputation among tribes across the United States and in Canada as a so-called medicine man who performed healing ceremonies and spiritual gatherings, and police allege used his position to abuse young Native American girls. His arrest is the culmination of a months-long investigation that began after police received a tip in October 2022, and it comes as state attorneys general and lawmakers around the U.S. are looking into creating specialized units to handle cases involving Native women. A severe ice storm continues to sweep across parts of the south, causing chaos on roads that has been blamed for at least 3 deaths, along with flight cancellations and widespread power outages. The long-duration winter storm that has brought dangerous sleet and freezing rain from Texas to Tennessee is expected to continue through at least early Thursday, the National Weather Service said. As of early Wednesday, at least 3 deaths had been connected to the storm. On Monday, a 45-year-old man was ejected from a vehicle he was driving after he apparently lost control on an ice-covered overpass in Arlington, Texas, police said. He died at a hospital. That evening, a 49-year-old woman died after the vehicle she was driving struck a tree near El Dorado, Texas, according to the Texas Department of Public Safety. It said the woman, identified as Sherry Lynn Taylor, lost control of the truck on the icy road and skidded. In Austin, another person died after a weather-related multiple vehicle collision, according to the Austin-Travis County Emergency Medical Services. The storm has caused widespread travel chaos both on the roads and at airports this week. Speaking at a news conference Tuesday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott urged residents to avoid the roads due to the hazardous icing, adding that about 1,600 roads in the state had been affected. More than 900 flights to or from major U.S. airport hub Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport and more than 250 to or from Dallas Love Field were cancelled or delayed Tuesday, according to the tracking service FlightAware. At Dallas Fort Worth, more than 50% of Tuesday's scheduled flights had been cancelled by Tuesday afternoon. 11 people were shot, including 2 who were left in critical condition in a drive-by shooting on a Lakeland, Florida street Monday, police said. The shooting happened around 3:43 p.m. when the 4 windows of a dark blue Nissan sedan rolled down and at least 2 people opened fire, Police Chief Sam Taylor said. People on both sides of the street were struck, he said. We have reason to believe this was a targeted event, that it was not a random act, Taylor said at a news conference Monday evening. Officers found 3 people who had been shot, Taylor said. Others were taken by private vehicle to a hospital or showed up there for treatment, he said. Initially, police believed there were 10 victims in all, but later learned an additional person arrived at a hospital with a gunshot wound, Taylor said Tuesday. Those shot were described as men ages 20 to 35. 2 people were in critical condition, one of whom had been shot in the abdomen, and the other who had been shot in the face and jaw area, Taylor said. New Mexico prosecutors on Tuesday charged Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter, accusing him of escaping required firearms training and creating a climate of recklessness on the set of Rust. Baldwin and Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed were charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the 2021 death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwis announced. Assistant Director David Halls was also charged with negligent use of a deadly weapon and has already agreed to plead no contest, Carmack Altwis said. Prosecutors have evidence showing Baldwin was not present for required firearms training prior to the commencement of filming, Special Investigator Robert Schilling wrote in a probable cause statement. And when another training session was scheduled on the set, the 1-hour seminar lasted only 30 minutes because Baldwin was distracted and talking on his cell phone to his family during the training, prosecutors said, citing a statement from Gutierrez-Reed. And as the movie's producer, Baldwin failed to hold enough safety meetings, Schilling wrote, which resulted in a climate of recklessness as evidenced by the conduct of the cast and crew documented through statements and evidence. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley this week is expected to move closer to launching a presidential bid, according to 3 sources familiar with the rollout, setting the stage for a mid-February announcement that would make her former President Donald Trump's first GOP primary opponent for 2024. Haley, who was ambassador to the UN for 2 years in the Trump administration, will invite supporters to a special event February 15 in South Carolina, 2 of the sources said, noting that the invitation could go out as soon as Wednesday. The Post and Courier of Charleston first reported Haley's plans. Haley teased a potential presidential bid this month, saying in an interview on Fox News, "Yes, we need to go in a new direction, and can I be that leader? Yes, I think I can be that leader." Trump, who announced a 3rd presidential bid in November, kicked off his campaign with stops in New Hampshire and Haley's home state, South Carolina, over the weekend. Since she left the Trump administration, Haley at times has criticized Trump, but she frequently praises him. Before she joined the administration, she was governor of South Carolina from 2011 to 2017 and was a member of the State House of Representatives. Boeing bid farewell to an icon on Tuesday, delivering its final 747 jumbo jet as thousands of workers who helped build the planes over the past 55 years looked on. Since its first flight in 1969, the giant yet graceful 747 has served as a cargo plane, a commercial aircraft capable of carrying nearly 500 passengers, a transport for NASA's space shuttles, and the Air Force One presidential aircraft. It revolutionized travel, connecting international cities that had never before had direct routes and helping democratize passenger flight. But over about the past 15 years, Boeing and its European rival Airbus have introduced more profitable and fuel-efficient wide-body planes with only two engines to maintain instead of the 747's four. The final plane is the 1574th built by Boeing in the Puget Sound region of Washington state. Michelle Obama's recent celebrity-filled book tour is becoming a podcast. Audible announced Wednesday that the former First Lady will launch the Michelle Obama The Light podcast on March 7. It's based on Obama's tour promoting The Light We Carry, her recent best-selling book, which featured special guests like Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Tyler Perry, David Letterman, and more. Though only a few thousand people were able to attend the events live, these remarkable conversations can now be heard by everyone, Audible said in a news release. The 8-episode podcast goes beyond the book as Michelle Obama and her friends share personal stories and insights listeners won't encounter anywhere else. Obama said in a statement that the book tour was a way to expand on the book's reflections about dealing with stress and change and a chance to connect with real people once again. The podcast, she said, is a deeper examination of those fun and meaningful moments. Obama released the Light We Carry book on November 15 and kicked off her promotional tour the same night. She was joined in Washington for the first event by DeGeneres. Missy Elliott, Willie Nelson, Kate Bush, Iron Maiden, Cyndi Lauper, Soundgarden, Sheryl Crow, and the late George Michael are the 2023 nominees for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, reflecting a mix of country, soul, hip-hop, metal, pop, rap rock, and grunge. The Cleveland-based institution announced Wednesday the 14 artists and groups being considered for Rock Hall induction, also including Rage Against the Machine, The Spinners, A Tribe Called Quest, The White Stripes, Warren Zevon, and Joy Division New Order. If Elliott makes it, she would become the first female hip-hop artist in the hall. This is an incredible honor. I am so humbled and grateful to be counted amongst all the incredible honorees. I have spent my career making the kind of music I love, and it means so much to know that I have touched others as well, she said in a statement. Artists must have released their first commercial recording at least 25 years before they are eligible for induction. Daytime television psychologist Dr. Phil McGraw says he plans to end his talk show after 21 years in the coming months, but viewers haven't seen the last of him. Dr. Phil was the most prominent spin-off from Oprah Winfrey's show, which once dominated daytime TV. The Texans program debuted in September 2002 after he had been featured as a regular guest on Winfrey's. With this show, we have helped thousands of guests and millions of viewers through everything from addiction and marriage to mental wellness and raising children, McGraw said in a statement. This has been an incredible chapter of my life and career, but while I am moving on from daytime, there is so much more I wish to do. The traditional broadcast TV season ends in spring. There was no date given for Phil's final show. McGraw, who is 72 years old, said he wants to focus on primetime programming and is planning an unspecified project for early next year. Now it's time for global updates. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan reaffirmed Wednesday that Turkey won't allow Sweden to join the NATO military alliance as long as the Scandinavian country permits protests desecrating Islam's holy book to take place. Turkey, which has been holding off approving Sweden and Finland's membership in the Western Military Alliance, has been infuriated by a series of demonstrations in Stockholm by activists who have burned the Quran outside the Turkish embassy and hanged an effigy of Erdogan. It has indefinitely postponed a key meeting in Brussels that would have discussed the two Nordic countries' entry into NATO. Sweden, don't even bother. As long as you allow my holy book, the Quran, to be burned and torn, and you do so together with your security forces, we will not say yes to your entry into NATO. Erdogan said in his speech to his ruling party's legislators. Swedish government officials have distanced themselves from the protest, including by a far-right anti-Islam activist who burned copies of the Quran in Stockholm and Copenhagen, Denmark, while also stressing that the demonstrations are protected by freedom of speech. On Tuesday, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson denounced the activists who carried out the demonstrations as useful idiots for foreign powers who want to inflict harm on the Scandinavian country as it seeks to join NATO. Myanmar's military government announced Wednesday that it is extending a state of emergency it imposed when it seized power 2 years ago, a move that appears to set back its plans for an election that had been expected in August. The announcement on state-run MRTV television said the National Defense and Security Council, which met Tuesday, extended the state of emergency for another 6 months because the country remains in an abnormal situation and time is needed to prepare for a peaceful and stable election. The NDSC is nominally a constitutional administrative government body, but in practice is controlled by the military. No exact date has been announced for the polls, though the head of the ruling military council, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, has suggested they could be held in August. Wednesday's report said the election will be held after accomplishing the provisions of the state of emergency. The state of emergency allows the military to assume all government functions, giving Min Aung Hlaing legislative, judicial and executive powers. 500,000 workers went on strike in Britain on Wednesday, calling for higher wages in the largest such walkout in over a decade, closing schools and severely disrupting transport. Europe is battling a cost of living crisis, and the latest strikes come a day after more than 1.27 million took to the streets in France, upping pressure on the French government over pension reform plans. Britain's umbrella labor organization, the Trades Union Congress, called it the biggest day of strike action since 2011. Teachers and train drivers were among the latest groups to act, as well as border force workers at UK air and seaports. Britain has witnessed months of strikes by tens of thousands of workers, including postal staff, lawyers, nurses and employees in the retail sector, as UK inflation raised above 11%, the highest level in more than 40 years. Russia's refusal to allow on-the-ground inspections to resume is endangering the New START nuclear treaty and US-Russian arms control overall, the Biden administration charged on Tuesday. The finding was delivered to Congress and summarized in a statement by the State Department. It follows months of more hopeful US assessments that the two countries would be able to salvage cooperation on limiting strategic nuclear weapons despite high tensions over Russia's war on Ukraine. Inspections of US and Russian military sites under the New START treaty were paused by both sides because of the spread of the coronavirus in March 2020. The US-Russia committee overseeing implementation of the treaty last met in October 2021, but Russia then unilaterally suspended its cooperation with the treaty's inspection provisions in August 2022 to protest US support for Ukraine. Russia's refusal to facilitate inspection activities prevents the United States from exercising important rights under the treaty and threatens the viability of US-Russia nuclear arms control, the State Department said Tuesday. The administration also blamed Russia for the two countries' failure to resume talks required under the New START treaty. Pope Francis urged Congo's people on Wednesday to forgive those who have harmed them as he presided over a mass before an estimated 1 million people in a country racked by decades of violence. Many of the faithful spent the night at the capital's vast Dolo airport and spent the hours before Francis' arrival singing, dancing and getting jazzed up for the pontiff's first main event of his trip to Africa. His is the first papal visit to the country since St. John Paul II in 1985. The crowd cheered wildly when Francis began a languid loop around the airfields in his open-sided Popemobile, as some people ran alongside or waved flags. Many women wore dresses and scarves made of pagan, a wax print fabric featuring images of Francis or other religious symbols. The crowd cheered again when the Argentine Pope greeted them in Lingala, one of four national languages of Congo that is widely spoken in the capital, Kinshasa, and they listened attentively as he urged them in his homily to open their hearts to forgiveness, citing the example of Christ who forgave those who betrayed him. Now it's time for business news. New York stock close price is 16,122.34. The NYSE composite is increased by 85.95 points or 0.54%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,346.88. The Nikkei 225 index is by 19.77 points or 0.07%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,284.9213. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 29.25 points or 0.90%. Hong Kong stock close price is 22,072.18. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 229.85 points or 1.05%. Bombay stock close price is 59,708.08. The Sensex index is increased by 158.18 points or 0.27%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Tom Brady has announced yet again that he is retiring, but this time it's for good. The star quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shared the bombshell news in a video on his Twitter on Wednesday morning. "Good morning, guys. I will get to the point right away. I am retiring for good," he said with a nod. "I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I would just press record and let you guys know first," he explained. The decision comes after Brady said last February that he would retire from the NFL, but his time off the field barely lasted 40 days. He reversed that decision in March. The Buccaneers reposted his video on their social media accounts and shared a photo of him with the caption, "Thank you." Following the announcement, Brady posted dozens of photos on his Instagram stories depicting moments with his family, teammates in the locker room, and his children wearing his jersey. Messages of support poured in for Brady, revered by many as the greatest quarterback in NFL history, on his social media posts. Free agent reliever Chad Green and the Toronto Blue Jays agreed to an $8.5 million two-year contract on Tuesday. The deal includes options for 2025 and 2026 and could be worth $29.25 million over 4 seasons. Green is likely to miss at least the early portion of this season while recovering from Tommy John surgery. He injured his pitching elbow last May with the New York Yankees and was sidelined the rest of the year. The right-hander got off to a solid start last season, with a 3.00 ERA and 16 strikeouts over 15 innings. He left New York's game against the Baltimore Orioles on May 19 with right forearm discomfort, and 3 days later the Yankees announced he needed Tommy John surgery. Typical recovery time for the ligament replacement procedure is 12 to 18 months. Green gets a $2.25 million salary this year, and the Blue Jays must decide after this season whether to exercise a club option calling for $9 million salaries in 2024, 2025 and 2026. Women's World Cup co-host Australia and New Zealand urged FIFA on Wednesday not to sign a sponsor deal with the Tourism Authority of Saudi Arabia, where rights of women remain severely restricted. Leaders of the two national soccer federations warned in a letter to FIFA, including President Gianni Infantino, that unilaterally sealing the Visit Saudi sponsorship could severely tarnish the reputation of the 32-nation tournament that starts in July. That is despite the tourism brand being endorsed by Men's World Cup winning captain Lionel Messi, who was announced last year as a paid pitchman. Such a confrontation between a World Cup host and FIFA is unprecedented in recent history and is likely to shine more attention on so-called sports washing investments by Saudi Arabia. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago Video Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.